That's one example of one of the many concepts we did, I think maybe around 15 years ago. There's a long flow of trying to do something that was screen-based wireless. The whole idea of taking your screen with you to your sofa, navigating through all the content of the music you had. And at that time, it was basically a collection because streaming wasn't really catching on at that time. But the whole idea of saying that I have a dedicated piece of hardware that controls my music, and then I choose and get it wireless back from our speakers.
That's incredible. So this could have been the world's first iPad.
It could be, yeah. And it's on the wall, it's standing on its charging pan that defined the whole ball here. The ball is to have the batteries.
Right.
But it also means that you can take it off and you can put it on a table and there it stands.
Wow. That's very clever. So this is the B&O product that never was, but it could have changed the world.
It could have changed, yeah.
Yeah.
It is again a collection of new and old here. And as you can see here in the center, we have again some samples from the very first project I did, the Biocom 2. And when you have such a lovely piece of aluminum, it just invites to do all kinds of treatments. So there was a Danish artist who were able to do these patterns on it.
That's incredible.
And it looked it was almost like parrots on the trees.
Yes.
And I had that nickname actually for this one because standing there on a tree, it's like a parrot saying hello, like if you know Tintin.
Yes.
And the captain's many fights with parrots and telephones.
Yes.
So that's what I kind of imagine with this one.
Wow.
Going in here, you're seeing the first big step after reviewing the CDs. You could say you had the 9000 that luckily has been, I'm really happy has a revival now.
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by that product. Yes. You had this up to Beosound 4, all of them was showing the disc. Yeah. So in this way it was like, what do you do when you're tired of showing it?
Right.
So now it's covered again. But should we cover it with something?
Yeah.
And then let's say, let's do everything we can do with aluminum. Let's bring in all the magic into the aluminum. So you had this nice touch and surface with the volume and the things choosing there. And doing that was super complicated for B&O because aluminum blocks any kind of signals from the finger. So normally you can't sense it.
No.
But what was done was it was milled super thin, or milled out super thin. And then you put in here some layer that could sense a slight movement on the surface, and by that detect what you were doing.
Yes.
Super difficult to calibrate, and something that I think most companies would say, no, that's too risky. But luckily B&O, they love to do risky things.
Yes, and it's still incredible to use, isn't it? Yes.
So that was one part of it, but why is it curved like that? So why did it have that shape? And then that's again because we were kind of imagining that the next thing would really be those wireless things that you move around. Right. So if you have something like that with no straight lines, it feels like it's ready to move. It's more floating in there. And that's a typical way of the way we are thinking, like that could we try to in some way be ahead of this, you could say, the mega waves of technology. So if in 10 years time all of it was looking like portable, wireless, disconnected from surfaces, why not be ahead and try to do that on a project? Yeah. But then comes, how do you open up this thing with that shape? So by having this, I did a lot of different things to figure out how to open it. By ending up doing something like that, you got access to the DVD without really increasing the space. So it's like it was doing an opening within itself.
Yes, it's still a joy to watch it open and close. It's something, really special. It's one of the beautiful things with B&O, that joy of the movement.
Exactly. And I think do this kind of magic movement is fascinating, and it's actually pretty difficult.
Yes.
Not only mechanical, because of course to get a right joy of movement, it should never have this kind of bad sound like
No.
It should be silent, so it feels like effortless. But actually design of the movement should also feel effortless.
Yes.
Because if it starts to look complicated, if you start to do compromises on the look because of the movement, some part of your brain starts to say, oh, why bother?
Yeah.
And then it shuts up the direction to your heart. And the last thing is, how do we do that movement elegant?
Yeah.
You not only from the beginning, it have to be like complete in position A, but it also have to be complete in position B.
Yes.
And in the transition between these two movements, it have to look beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and that's tricky again.
Yes. Yeah.
And as we can see on Beovision Harmony, it had a lot of impact on how we actually had to solve that in practice to get this kind of in-between movement appear equally magic as the start and the end.
Yes. And I think the way the speed of the movement changes is part of that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, exactly. The whole choreography of doing things. And it has been something we have been doing quite a lot on television.
Yeah.
I think from earlier when you had like a DVD disc or anything like that, you had like, for example, on Beovision 7, you had this slim piece of aluminum that went out. You could load your CD or DVD on it and it went in there completely silent. And it just felt such like such a high quality experience that all other plastic sliders and drawers felt like such a bad experience compared to this kind of. For this one, which is one of the early sketch model of Beovision Avant, second generation, there's a lot of incorporated movement into that one. And for example, this one represents the table stand. And it's all about hiding stuff when you're not using it. And when you're using it, it gets up, ready to entertain you, and the speaker unfolds.
Yes.
And the speaker goes down, but the last thing we need to do with movement is it has to be generous. So it's not just going down. It does that one more thing, down and then expand. Just to say, okay, we do everything. We go over the edge to support your experience. And here we have the level, one of the latest projects we have done. And that one was started by a recipe from the acoustic people at B&O. They'd been giving the job saying, can we make something flat enough to be put into a weekend bag so people can take it from the home out into your camping somewhere, weekend house, boat, whatever, back again. So that was a format, slightly bigger than A4, and do it flat. And what else could you do? Then they had come up with this thing that you had 180 stereo soundscapes placed like that for people who want to have that experience. If you were doing like that, it would be more omnidirectional, so it had this even sound no matter where you are. And lastly, if you were placing it down like that, you had like this 360-degree thing.
I love the way the sound changes as you
move it.
It goes silent for a moment and then comes back up with its new sound.
And that was the core story of this project, and that was the thing that made it so difficult for us to do, because how on earth do you design a product that has no back? There's no foot, because every surface would be visible in one way, and it had to look equally right like that, or like that. And we had 4 or 5 different suggestions, and this one was based on saying, let's wrap a frame around it. So the frame is a protector, but also a handle to whatever you do. And by using it like as an element that divide the depth into two,
Yes.
it becomes thinner.
Yeah.
And by being thinner, you will be even more surprised by the sound quality.
Yes.
Because you expect something from the sound, but if it delivers more than you expect, you get this happy, positive surprise.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for this design. And this is like the first design mock-up presented to them.
Yeah.
And then you move on from there with a heavy dialogue together with engineers and the people developing it, and figured out, okay, we have these things to fight for, stability, all this stuff. So you have a lot of sketch model on taking it from there, seeing what happens if we do that. Does it change when we are reducing the angles here? How does it change? Is it still nice, or is it falling apart visually? Handle stuff like that, and some of these examples where you are like testing different kind of interface, how to make something that appears nice, symmetric, and at the same time feasible.
And it looks very much like the 1960s or 1970s Beolit radios, doesn't it?
It does in some way, and I think in some of these, I mean, especially in this, that concept of those, because it has this kind of, there's of course a format, but also this flat part of it, and this vertical lines, that kind of, with these lines and the air gap here and here, it gets lighter because it's kind of hovering in there.
Yes.
And then here on the side you have like one of the variation that was explored for Beolab 4.
I do like that.
Doing it with a surface like that.
Yes.
It looks pretty cool, yeah.
I think so. That would be nice even now as a B&O speaker. So
Exactly. And here we have the Halo, which is for me one of those core B&O product in the way that it is revealing the essence of the product's true reason for it to exist.
Yes.
Which is like one of the catchphrase I was like raised with from day one here with David Lewis, that every product needs its own unique reason to exist.
Right.
And the job here was, let's do a new remote for not only your music, but all for your homes, for your complete smart home.
Yes.
And we had all those pad-like things on the wall or on the hands. And it didn't feel like that, because it was like a different identity. And you will start comparing the things going on the screen with the smartphones. And that's a tricky thing, because smartphones get renewed every second year for most consumers, which means you have always updated technology, which would be a pain for this kind of product. So you had to go somewhere else. And starting again with the screen, the content there was mostly sentence-based. A title for a song, I think. So the shape of the display was more like horizontal. So the horizontal display is for like access, choosing, set on. And then what is the next thing you're doing? You're doing volume adjustment. And can we do that as lifting up the experience, so it really becomes like the premium experience by doing that? So let's emphasize the wheel.
Yes.
So I had these two things. I had the display and the wheel. And then I said, why not cut the rest? Try to remove everything else. So you only had the display and the wheel. And the funny thing is, if you take a square, a rectangular display and angle it and swipe the edge around, you get a curved surface. So if you look at this one, you will see the line here is completely straight.
Yes.
But the result is this curving surface. And this kind of like geometric magic is something that I really, that really triggers me.
Yes.
So it's okay, here it is. You just mirror that surface to the other side, and there you have it.
Wow.
So you're having it here, like touching here, adjusting it, going up with the volume, and stuff like that. And then standing on the table with the foot for the battery, or on the wall where I find it looks best. And of course, it could also be on a stand, so you could go directly into it and then go ahead. So to really celebrate that you are listening to music.
Well, thank you, Torsten, for letting us come and have a look around this amazing space and for telling us some of the hidden insights that came into B&O products.
It's really been my pleasure.